What's up, everybody? Akash Inti here. Today we are going over a biotech basic or biotech pharmaceutical basic, let's be clear here, of what's the difference between a biotech company and a pharmaceutical company, biotech product, pharmaceutical product, biotech business strategy, pharmaceutical business strategy. Why is this important? And more importantly, how do we make this fun and enjoyable? This is what I like to do. All right, so we're going to get into a little bit of the history of this. Why don't we start there, actually? So back in, I think it was 17, 1800s, and even before this, people had always realized that there were certain plants and herbs, if you will, or even animals, parts of animals, that when you applied them to a part of the body or ingested them, they would be medicinal. In other words, they would heal things. Examples of this are opium um, from the poppy seed. Um, it could also be turmeric, a spice in India, is known to be antiseptic, um, among others. And so these herbs and plants and spices were known to have medicinal properties. Well, it wasn't until about the 1700s, 1800s, where scientists were able to extract the uh, the molecule that was medicinal. This became known as the active pharmaceutical ingredient, and this is what made chemists, organic chemists, and synthetic chemists lots of money up until about the 1950s or so. Though I'd say it still makes the money today. Um, then up until right around that time, in the 1970s or so, new technology after understanding DNA and the cells a lot better, and the whole process of how DNA is translated into or is transcribed into RNA, and RNA is translated into a protein. After understanding this, the basic tenets of molecular biology, scientists started to make proteins. And these proteins were able to do whole hosts of things that were completely different than the small molecules. In other words, small molecules were only able to either to jam a receptor, as we can think of this as a key, or it could maybe open the receptor like a lock key mechanism. I'm going back a bit, or it could open the receptor such that it allows the key to fit in a bit better and really allow a better possibility for reaction to occur. And so these were the limits, I guess, to small molecules. It wasn't until the revolution, as I mentioned, of biologics, biotechnology, that enabled more things. So an example of biologics would be peptide therapeutics. This could be monoclonal antibodies or any type of antibody. There's also polyclonals, oligoclonals. Again, we can get onto all of these things in 2 separate videos if you guys are interested. There's also, we have nucleic acid therapeutics. So this could be anything from RNA interference to other types of RNAis, like a microRNA. It could be a short interfering RNA. These are the types of therapeutics, different mechanisms, but the whole idea is the same thing. It could be gene therapies, whether they be encapsulated in viruses or in nanoparticles. It could be cell therapies, which are their own whole category, or it could be regenerative medicine, kind of tissue, etc. I would categorize that in its own, and we can get into that into another video. The other big differences between small molecules and biologics is size. So oftentimes the size of the molecule itself for a small molecule is on the order of 1 nanometer, whereas the size for a biologic is on the order of 1 micrometer. For those of you who are not super acquainted and equipped with the difference between a nanometer and a micrometer, it's a 1 and 1,000. So a small molecule is 1/1000th of a biologic on average. Imagine one baseball, holding one baseball. Now imagine 1,000 of them. And that's kind of the difference of size, if you will. these types of companies have different strategies typically as well. So pharmaceutical companies are usually the big ones that you know: Roche, Novartis, Pfizer, Merck, you name it. These are kind of some of the big ones. And their strategy historically has been to they make a lot of money. They make a blockbuster drug, which a blockbuster drug in the industry is known as a drug that sells more than that sells $1 billion a year, or more. And this is kind of for the longest time that during the up to the 1990s or so, or the 1990s was the beginning of these kind of blockbuster era of drugs, till about, I mean, even today we still talk about blockbuster drugs. So we have this strategy where these types of companies make a lot of money. They're very cash rich. Their assets are known as cash cows, and they'll use this to buy things. On the other side, so we call this usually the buy side within the industry, pharmaceutical companies. Then you've got biotech companies, which again, as I mentioned, their technologies are a lot more novel. They're very innovative in the way that they work, very agile, um, and they the technologies that they're using, as I mentioned, are very innovative. So they aren't, and they're able to, I guess, attack is one word. It would be solve a disease in a different way, or be able to hit different receptors that are inaccessible by small molecules with biologics. These companies, as I mentioned, are very agile. They're usually cash poor, or in other words, all the cash and money that they raise must go to development of the drug. They're like bootstrapped a lot of the times, um, and they're very innovative as well. So not only innovative in the sense of this is a new idea, a new drug, but oftentimes they're the ones who are pushing the envelope also in the sense of drug pricing, things of this nature. Now, biotech companies, the way their model works is that they usually try to get funding from pharmaceutical companies. So they'll say, "Hey, we'll sell you part of our assets, whether it be we'll give you a piece, like we'll sell you the asset itself, and then you give us cash, and we sell out." It could be that they co-develop it. So biotech company goes over to pharma company, and they're like, "Hey, we would like to." Biotech company's like, "We would like to get some money to develop this asset. Super innovative, super novel. We'll give you like half the profits," or some such thing. They'll come to some deal terms. Pharmaceutical companies like, "Well, we're just about running out of money from our blockbuster drug that's gonna come off patent. Fuck it. Yeah, why not? I'll do it." So this guy, um, they make the deal together, and as they make the deal together, it enables these companies to interact with each other and more innovation to occur for the industry to continue to push drugs forward, and new drugs are created or at least funded. So this is a high level of biopharma 101. I guess what's the difference between or a pharmaceutical product, a biologic, kind of a difference, and what's the difference between a pharma company, biotech company. Pharma companies again are a bit more risk averse, so they're usually looking for things that are more stable sources of income most often, or this is kind of how their cash flow line works. They are often not, or historically they hadn't necessarily been investing too much into biologics or into the biotech industry. They've been continuing to go down pharmaceutical development and really just buying new assets that are pharmaceutical products, that would be ideally $1 billion, but more often than not, um, in the hundreds of millions or tens of millions. And they would hire sales forces to basically um, push the product, if you will, to doctors or so on and so forth. Raise awareness of the drug itself and make it aware within the medical community, so that the medical community would understand what's this drug and accept it better. It's not to say biotech companies don't do the same. They do. However, oftentimes their patient populations are a lot smaller. So they will have patient populations that are maybe 1/100th of the size, or maybe even 1/1000th of the size of a typical pharmaceutical drug. These used to be called like primary care drugs. In other words, this would be your primary care physician, pediatrician, the types of doctors that you go to, um, and they're just a general health practitioner. Pharmaceutical products oftentimes are marketed to these guys, versus for the biologics, it often used and it continues to be specialists. In other words, these are maybe your dermatologist. This could be like your skin doctor. This could be your audiologist for your ears. It could be your rheumatologist for any joint issues that you have, your oncologists if you have cancer, things of this nature. Biologics are typically sold towards them. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. There's a lot of richness in here, and there's a lot of things that you can pull out. More than happy to go into some of these different topic areas. And again, I know these videos are very high level, very like 101. I want to lay out the basics before we really jump into some of the strategy, as well as some of the understandings of what might make sense to move forward. So I really want to get you guys a bit more acquainted with what does this terminology mean, so that we can start zipping through things and really making some waves that way. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next one.